Well, we all knew this day would eventually come, and it is here. Warren Buffett, after 54 or 55 years, is stepping down from CEO position at Berkshire Hathaway. He was the longest running CEO of a S&P 500 company. He has done so many amazing things. He's over 90, and until yesterday was the CEO of Berkshire Hathaway. I just wanted to talk about Buffett. What's it mean? What's his legacy? What's it mean for Berkshire Hathaway going forward now that Buffett isn't at the helm? We got the one and only Taylor from LifeGoal Investments. How you doing, buddy?
Doing great. This is like a warm and fuzzy time, I guess, giving credence to everything that he's done. And I think there's so many lessons to have learned from him, both investing wise, but also just personality wise, that I think a lot of people have learned a lot from him, and hopefully people continue to learn from his behavior. I'm happy to expound upon any of that.
Yeah, again, as somebody who spent 12 years on Wall Street, I'd love to hear from you. What's your personal take on Warren Buffett? Some of the memories you might have. Have you ever met him? I'm not sure if you've actually ever met him in person. Do you ever go to the event? His event that he just had this weekend. Do you ever go to one of those? Just talk about what Buffett's meant to you and your kind of memories.
Yeah, so I have not met him. I have not been to Omaha to the event, but I think the biggest takeaway from Warren for me is, well, outside of the fact that just nobody wields power in the market like he does, right? The market, he says something and the market runs or craters or whatever. It's unbelievable that one person can have so much power, because I think that's all a function of just the amount of knowledge that he has and the sober lens that he looks at the market through. There are times where the market was going bananas and he looked like an absolute fool for sitting on so much cash. And people said, hey, who is this Warren Buffett guy? He's lost his touch.
Yeah.
We discussed Dave Portnoy saying that in 2020, in 2021 rather. And then 2022 rolls around and Warren looks like an absolute rock star again. And now he's back to sitting on a huge amount of cash. But I think the biggest takeaway for me, and this isn't in the investing world, this is just his personality, is he's done everything with humility. And I think that a person that has as much power as he does, the fact that he's had this level of success that he's had with the humility to match it has, just brought this ultimate grace. He said over the weekend, he said, I hate to admit this, but Tim Cook has done far more for Berkshire holders than I ever have. Talking about the rise in the price of Berkshire based on the success of Apple. And he is the first to give credit elsewhere, and he's soft-spoken. He speaks up on things when he thinks it's the right time to do so, but he also tries to stay out of the way of some of this really politically divisive type commentary that a lot of folks are running towards to get headlines. He wants nothing to do with it.
Yeah, it's funny. I actually remember the first time I heard of Berkshire Hathaway. I was getting my MBA, so I must have been 24, maybe 25. We were at one of our evening classes and the topic was Berkshire Hathaway. And this was back in the day when you had newspapers that printed I guess they still do.
What's
I haven't looked.
What's that?
Yeah. It's a black and white thing, remember all the stock charts and, you would go through it and you'd find the stock you wanted and all of that. And I think it was $1,000 or $1,600. Now this was back, God, when was this? Must have been the mid 90s. When stocks wouldn't be $1,000, it wouldn't be $1,600, right? It's not like today. You have plenty of them over there. But I remember going, "What the hell? Why is this? Why is a company I've never heard of worth so much?" Right. And that set me on a long journey of learning who he is, what did he do, what is a conglomerate, just all of these things. So I still remember that class when I realized that there was a stock over $1,000. Should have bought some. Never bought any. Should have. And then I remember
there's
reading,
not been a time throughout history where you shouldn't have bought that.
Exactly. Maybe until today.
That time frame.
Yeah, maybe now that he's not there. And then I remember the best financial biography I ever read, I believe I have the title right, was American Capitalist. It was an unauthorized biography of Warren Buffett. There's been plenty, the official Snowball and all these other ones after. But I just loved hearing about this guy who is a teenager. He might have been 11 or 12, bought his first stock. And it was his thing, right? He found his superpower. the guy reads like 8 hours a day, and he's been doing it for 80 years. What I appreciate about Warren Buffett is he's been remarkably disciplined. He is who he is. He doesn't change. He doesn't. Yeah, he's just. And I guess the biggest quote that I take from him, and there's so many, was, it takes a lifetime to build a reputation and 5 seconds to destroy it. And he's always lived by that. So, I have nothing but respect for him. There was so many, like, those letters he wrote, shareholder letters.
Yeah.
If you haven't read them, you should go back. There's actually books just on his shareholder letters. You should go back and read them. So much respect. Well done. Yeah, pretty crazy.
The power of the shareholder letter that he produced every year was the fact that it was a page or 2 pages long.
Yeah.
His ability to just digest big data, big information, and then spit it back in a page or 2 is absolutely incredible. And I think, that's something that a lot of people can take a lesson away from. Every email you send, every communication that you have, try to shorten it. Take out every bit of fluff that you can and still deliver the same message. And he's an amazing person. You'll realize who's swimming naked when the tide goes out. It's like, it just speaks to the discipline that you speak to on him, and the fact that he never wavered. He doesn't waver in his views, and he is not a perfect man. Like his family life wasn't pretty.
No, not pretty.
In a lot of assessments, because he was so focused. Thankfully, we were the beneficiaries of his focus in the knowledge that we've been able to glean from him. But yeah, it's been a one-track mind with that dude, and that is investing, finding companies that are undervalued. And the great thing about him is too, time didn't pass him by. He realized where he made mistakes in the past. His partner, that was his long-term partner, Charlie Munger. Charlie Munger used to describe Warren Buffett as picking up the cigarette, lighting it when there's one last drag in it in the value investing. He said, listen, there's value in companies that might not have a low price to earnings ratio, but understanding a little bit about their future shows that they have phenomenal value at the current share price. And Warren, you need to learn a little bit about this. And what did Warren say? Not, you're an idiot, Charlie. Come on.
Yeah.
Come on the team. Let's do this. Let's blend the two of our investment theses together. And what they've done is nothing short of astounding. Where it goes from here is now interesting. Warren's not dead. He's 94. He will be on till the end of the year. And I'm sure that he's going to be very, very involved until his mind does not allow him to be involved anymore. It will be very fun to watch. He is the most powerful man. There's some arguments to say he's the most powerful man on the planet. I think obviously Trump would refute that at this point, no doubt. But his ability to move markets and thought process and sound thinking is unmatched.
Yeah. I certainly think Warren Buffett's the most powerful man on the planet when you kind of, look at it as a totality of the last 50 years. Right. There may be individuals at different times that are more powerful, but not collectively.
Yeah, part of our banking system could have gone down.
Yeah. Remember that? Yeah.
Goldman Sachs. Yeah. And he said, one of his comments over the weekend, and I'll butcher this a little bit, is, and this was one of the things that he gave himself credit for. And it wasn't him. He said Berkshire. He said one of the things that Berkshire has done well has been an asset to the government rather than a liability. And what he's speaking to there is providing financial funding at a time when things were absolutely distressed, stepping into the market with a calm voice, telling investors it's okay. We're going to invest back into America because America does innovate. In the depth of 2008, when it looked like there was death and despair, he stepped in and backed an investment firm, Goldman Sachs.
Yeah. Well, let's also not forget, I think it was in the 80s. He actually stepped in and ran a bank.
Yes, he did.
Right. I think it was Citi, or I don't remember which one it was, but he stepped in and ran it for a little while.
Which is great. It's just crazy. Think about the hedge fund managers now that come in and try to just pummel whomever the management team is to thinking the way they think. And I'm not saying Warren Buffett hasn't done a little bit of that himself. He's certainly a white knight, but he definitely wields a sword when he comes in as well and makes changes. Awesome.
Yeah. The other thing I think about Warren Buffett is I look at him as the everyman. He doesn't rely on supercomputers and fancy algorithms chasing little slices and all of that. He doesn't do complex swing trades and all these other things. He's looking for those. I think he always said, I'm looking for good companies at a fair price, not a bad company at a stupid price, right? Or something like that.
Yeah.
When I look at Warren Buffett, it's like, okay, if you're willing to do the work, you're willing to consume hours and hours of data. If maybe you're willing, I call it a buy box in real estate. Maybe you pick a domain inside stocks like retail or tech or whatever. If you're willing to do the work, you have a chance at being a world-class investor. It's just most people, myself included, don't do the work. Right? We choose to take our time and do something else. He's not a balanced individual. He's very unbalanced.
Oh, totally. He's got a one-track mind. And I think that that's the reality. As people say, hey, he can do it. Who is he to begin with? He wasn't anybody to begin with. But again, I think the vast majority of investors would be better off staying out of the way of individual stocks. And you can say, but look at Warren Buffett. But also look at Warren Buffett doing 6 to 8 hours of reading every day of companies, and then also sitting with the company management teams and getting an idea of what their business is like. We don't do that. We don't have access to do that. And it took 3 decades for him to get access to management teams, but he got it. And then he use that power well. Like, one of the things I was talking to my wife about this, who has nothing to do with investing, no interest whatsoever. But I was like, there's very few people that can be in the limelight for 50 years that you still step back and say, after 50 years, like, you want to give the guy a hug. You feel like he's a grandfather, right? And that doesn't have necessarily to do with his age. It's his demeanor. Like, he's done things right.
Yeah. Let's close on this. The one thing that I was always interested about was the Warren Buffett premium. I don't think it's unrealistic to say that Berkshire Hathaway held a premium because Warren Buffett's in charge. He's no longer in charge. I checked the stock this morning before we started recording. I think it was down 6%.
Yep.
I don't know. I guess that feels okay. I mean, what do you think?
No, I think that Berkshire shareholders probably take that in stride and say, hey, the day that Warren decides that he's going to step down or announces that he's going to step down, if it's down 6%, sign me up.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think the big question for Berkshire Hathaway for me is what does it do going forward? Does it maintain the same kind of execution, or do they do more dividends, or there's a new guy in charge, and it'll be interesting to see if he operates any differently.
He's got a couple decades of grooming, but his time will be put to the test here very soon.
Yeah, exactly. Well, do me a favor, Taylor. It's been a lot of fun. Where can people find you?
Yeah, find us on social media, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn. We're at LifeGoal Investments.
Folks, do me a favor. If you have a favorite Warren Buffett quote, leave it in the comments. I'd love to see which one was your favorite. Thanks, buddy.